You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast. As always, this is Daniel Barrett here from AdWordsNerds.com. And if you need more leads and deals online for your real estate investing business, you know where to go. You go to AdWordsNerds.com. You can request some time with a member of my team, and we will talk about our online marketing strategy specifically for your market. If you want to do it together, that's awesome. If not, you can take it with our blessings and go get those deals yourself. This week, I have a really fun interview with Andy Gurczak from allcityadjusting.com. Now, Andy is a public adjuster. And if you're not familiar with a public adjuster, they're basically someone who's going to come in on your behalf and fight with your insurance company to make sure that you get the biggest claim possible when you're going through some kind of really difficult and potentially devastating situation with one of your properties or, a building that you own or an apartment or whatever. I mean, it's really incredible that this role is specifically there to help balance the scales, right? If you work with an adjuster from an insurance company, they are working for the insurance company. And this is someone on your side that's meant to kind of come in and make sure that your needs get met. Now, I don't know a ton about insurance. I didn't really know anything about public adjusting when I went into this conversation with Andy, but he really laid it down in a way that was super approachable, super useful. Not only that, he is a super driven, really fun, really insightful business owner. I learned a ton from this conversation, and I know you will too. So without any further ado, let's get into my conversation with Andy Gurczak from allcityadjusting.com. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Daniel Barrett here from the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast. And with me today, I have Andy Gurczak from allcityadjusting.com. Andy, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on.
We were just chatting before we hit record, and that was going pretty well. We seem like we're both talkative folks, so I'm hoping this is going to be barn burner of a kind of episode. But I'm going to ask you the boring questions before we get into it, which is, you are a public adjuster. Do I have that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, So for people who aren't familiar, and I think a lot of investors are familiar with the insurance process and like what the benefit of hiring a public adjuster is. But let's start with that, just do some kind of basic background. First of all, what is an adjuster? Like, how does that fit? And what is the benefit of hiring a public adjuster? Like, why do people come to you rather than, for example, just using the adjuster that comes to them through the insurance company?
Yeah, so let me explain the two, like, look at it, like the insurance has their own adjuster, right? The staff adjuster or the independent, then they have their own contractors, their own engineers. So everyone's kind of working for the insurance company. So anyone that comes out for the insurance company is working for them. Okay. A private adjuster or public adjuster is licensed by the state to represent the insured and advocate for the insured, because the insured is honestly going up against the insurance company on its own. Like, think about that. Their adjuster's coming out and he's getting paid by the insurance company. And so he's representing them, but then he's also representing you. So isn't that a conflict of interest? It's just like an attorney representing two parties. So we advocate for the insured, not only to maximize the claim and make sure the claim gets paid in full and negotiate it, but also to walk that whole process from A to Z. And these days, it's to make sure the claim doesn't get delayed and then ultimately denied. Because majority of our calls now, our clients have been already denied. And then, unfortunately, then it's kind of too late for us to intervene.
Yeah, they went with like the insurance companies.
Correct.
Okay.
Just before our call, I just got a call from California. The client said we had a water loss February, so it's a long time. We just got the letter that we've been denied. Okay, well, that was February. We're in October.
Right.
They have a claim file on you. What are we going to, where it's too late for us to get involved.
So, like, let's say someone's got something that just happened. They're thinking about making a claim. Is that the point where they would bring someone like you in? Like, where do you fit in the process?
Yeah.
Like, how does someone slot you in versus, because I imagine that the insurance company wants to use their in-house adjusters and that they start moving that process pretty quickly. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Where do you come into that process?
So the insurance companies are always going to have their own adjusters, their own engineers, their own thing, right? Because they're going to bring as many parties as they can to minimize the claim, to delay it. That's honestly, I mean, every claim scenario, we can show thousands of claims. They're all the same way. They progress the same way. With us, that question always comes up. Like, when do you call? If I could tell everyone, it's like you want a PA, especially for investors, because we're majority of our clients and your listeners is investors and landlords and management companies. So we want to be on your staff before. You have accountant, you have accountants, you have attorneys, you have contractors. You should have a PA that you've kind of interviewed, and he's already on your list of when something happens. Because our investors will call us. For example, you had a water loss, a pipe break or something. You call, say, Andy, can you guys come out to the property? Can you see if we can file this? We'll come out, say, hey, small leak. This is a small fix. Your deductible is this much. You're not going to file this. There's no reason to file. Just mitigate it, take care of the damage, and there's nothing to file here, right? So the answer is as soon as possible. If you can have us on staff, great. Have us on retainer or have us on call, great. But the sooner the better. Don't tell the insurance, don't talk too much, don't try working the claim yourself. Because honestly, the claim process now, it's just looking for any way they can delay a claim and ultimately deny it. Yeah. It's always been like that. It seems it's getting worse every year though.
So let me ask about this. So you mentioned a public adjuster is literally, you said is that provided by the state? Like, what's the relationship between public adjusters and the state and the client? Like, how does that all work, and like, where does that come from?
The state licenses public adjusters.
Okay.
And then the insured hires the public adjuster, right? So we work directly for the insured, not the insurance companies. So we can only work for the insured and advocate for the insured, whether it's, residential, commercial properties, structure damage, and kind of different coverages that the insured has.
Okay. So now we're going to even ask, maybe they'll get an even more basic question, which is, when you hire an adjuster, literally what is that person doing? So it's like, I realize that like the role of an adjuster is basically to sort of help that claim along and understand how much the claim should pay out and like how much you sort of want to say is, should be yours by right and all this stuff. So I kind of understand the point, but I don't understand the actual logistics of the work, right? Is it, like you said, there's someone on the ground and they're walking around the house and they're saying, okay, from what I know about this type of room, it probably cost X amount of dollars to make, and there's, Y amount of damage, and you do a bunch of math. Like, what is the actual process like?
Yeah. So for different coverages, different claim scenarios, it's different avenues that we do. Whether it's like, let's say you have a business, now you have a loss of income. Now we have to bring a forensic accountant to run your books to kind of come out with the math to present to the insurance what's the actual loss of income that you're incurring, that you're owed, right? And then try to get, so that's one aspect. That's just one. If it's a structure, your home, or let's say it's a multi-unit building, bring in the right people, determine like, we're doing a large fire that, it's a 6-unit, 2 of the units have total loss where they're just total guts. Then the other 4 units have significant smoke damage that originally the insurance just wanted to clean them. Going through those 4, 3 of those we got them to gut, and then the other ones like had pretty much half gut, right? So it's having a team. So it's that. So it's different coverages. It's having different experts and different team members that can put a whole claim together and then present the insurance company with all the documents that they need, right? Because you can call a contractor, you can call anyone in the world, right? Say, I need an estimate to replace this window. But then to actually show it why you're replacing it, why it has to be replaced, for what documents you have that go with it to support your file, that's a whole different level, right?
So it's not just like what I was saying originally, where it's like, okay, it's X amount of damage, right? And you're sort of just looking at physical damage and saying this is what happened or whatever. You're also sort of estimating the future impact of that damage, right? So just like you said, like if I'm a landlord and this apartment is damaged, it's going to take me 6 months to gut it and fix it or whatever, then I'm not just out the amount of money it takes to do that. I'm out the money I would have made if that was rented. Is that kind of like what you're saying? It's not just what's happening now or what already happened. It's here's the potential impact of all that, and you got to cover me for that as well.
It's what's happening now, and it's what's going to happen in the future. It's to put our client in the best scenario, like in 6 months, right? Yeah. So if want to make sure they maximize the claim, that everything gets paid, fairly, that they have more than enough money to rebuild and for anything else, and that, for example, if now they have rentals and they're losing it, that they get loss of rents, and that we make them aware, like, okay, well, we got to negotiate this within 3 months because your loss of rents is maybe only up to 6 months. So then you only have 3 months to rebuild, and then you still got to get tenants in back, right? We want to make sure our clients are in the best scenario. At the end of it, we want them to be, in the best scenario they can be after everything's done, said and done.
So do you have a sense of what is the average difference in outcome? Because I think it's like one of the things is it's like, you get older and you learn a little bit about how the world works or whatever, right? And like one of the things I see over and over in my life is people's behavior follows their incentive, right? And so it doesn't strike me as like a weird claim that if you say, the insurance adjuster works for the insurance company and like probably judged in some way on their performance and like they have an incentive, whether it's conscious or not, to keep that number low in some way, shape, or form. And I don't think that means that those are bad people. It's just that's the incentive. That's he whose bread I eat, his song I sing, right? That's how it goes. So there's probably a fairly wide difference in terms of if I hire a public adjuster that's just working for me versus going with the adjuster that comes from the company. So do you have a sense of what that difference is on average?
I'll give you an example. The biggest insurance company in the States, you know what their training, how long their training is before they send someone on field to your home?
To be an adjuster?
To be an adjuster.
6 months?
2 months. 2 months, they're in your house adjusting. No knowledge of construction, no knowledge of anything. And they're discussing a claim with me or our team regarding what's damaged, what needs to be put back with 2 months with a sheet that says, we don't pay for this, we don't do this, right. Don't pay for this. That's who's representing the client. So when we look at these claims, it baffles me that people wouldn't call an adjuster, or at least but again, especially the old school mentality, I think it's changing. A lot of the old school mentality was, hey, well, my agent I've known for 20 years, he's a friend of my neighbor and we all know each other. Those days are gone. Those agents that used to be like that, they're gone. An agent now, even the older ones that are still left, are just salespeople. They're just selling policies unless they're independent. But the bigger ones, they're literally just selling a policy. Once a claim happens, they have the same number to the claims department that we do.
Yeah.
So that tells you how much power they have.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
So, well, let me ask a flip question then, which is, how did you get into this? Like, what was your entry into this industry? Like, what made you get started in insurance or in adjusting, or how did you know you wanted to do this?
I don't want to go back too far into my history, but I was in construction. I was working for a gentleman. We were doing fire restoration, and there was a PA that came to that job because there was some issue with the insurance. They were meeting there, but we were already doing work. And I asked my boss back then, like, who is that? And he says, well, that's the PA. He's the one that technically negotiated this laws. That's, his job. Great. I said, can I have his number? He said, yeah, that's fine. So he gave me his number. I was young. I was maybe 19. And for 2 years, I would call him every day, hey, can you teach me the business? He wouldn't answer. He would answer, but he never blocked me. So thank God he never blocked me. I don't think he knew how to block people. He's an older guy, honestly, but he didn't block me. So for 2 years, I called him. And then eventually we started our own construction company. We were running a construction company. After a year, I kind of wanted to go my own ways and kind of was still itching to get into this. I knew construction, I knew restoration, I knew all of that. I was in construction pretty much my whole life. But that adjusting thing was calling my name. It was hey, I really like this part where, not the work, but actually working the claim, negotiating and doing all the back end, And so I was almost giving up on calling him. And I'm like, you know what? I remember sitting in my room. I was like, hey, I'm going to call him one more time. If he doesn't answer, I'm just going to delete his number. I'm just going to move on and, do something else. He ended up answering, took me under his wing. And then for 2 to 3 years, kind of mentored me and taught me the entire business. So he had 40 years of experience plus all the experience he had from the guys that taught him. So, I got a lot of knowledge in a very short time, knowledge that people won't get their whole lifetime in this industry. So I am thankful for that.
So let me ask that. There's a bunch of stuff I want to ask about, but let's pause there for a minute. And So you called this person for 2 years, basically.
I was persistent.
Yeah, before they responded to you. I mean, it's,
I was getting blown out. You would answer, it's like, oh, I don't got time. Or you would just.
I was going to say it's like restraining order territory, but
call me tomorrow. Then tomorrow I call, he doesn't answer. I'm like, son of a gun. I couldn't text him because he didn't text that well. So it's like, son of a gun.
But I want to ask about that because I do think that it is a recurring theme on this. I've had a lot of people on the podcast for several years in now and had a lot of really successful people on the podcast. And it is a common theme. This chapter in the story, which is I'm asking for a thing I need and nobody's giving it to me. And I have to just keep at it for an extended period of time, like well beyond where most people would be like, this guy's not going to pick up the phone. Right. Like maybe 5 times in, I would have been like, I should probably stop calling this guy. Right. So I want to ask about that. Is that just part of your personality? And you're like, I've always been like that. Is that something you learned? Like, where does that thing come from? And does it show up elsewhere in your life? Does that make sense?
I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that. It's like the no meter. The more you tell me no, the more I'm just going to be like, no, no. You tell me no, that means yes, somehow I'm going to get there. and we have that mentality is I brought to the company and like instilled it into our whole team is, if the insurance company says, no, we don't do this, that just tells me, okay, all right, now it's going to get real fun. Like, no, the more you tell me no, the more I'm going to find reasons to say yes and to get a claim paid. And that's kind of my whole life. So anytime I hear no, I'm just like, oh my God, all right, just another obstacle. That's all it is. Right. I mean, you look at like entrepreneurs or founders, like the founder of Starbucks. I forgot how many banks he went to or, before he actually got a loan and, everyone, I mean, you could go down the line.
It is.
So I don't think it's just me.
It is really fascinating, right? It's like, I think you can be, if everything goes your way, you can be successful without that, right? If you whatever, everything's in your favor, right? But for the vast majority of people, you're trying to do something new or exciting. You're trying to build a thing. Most people are going to be like, well, you can't do that because it would have existed already, right? So it's just kind of like people just have that mentality. So the urge to tell people no is very high. So just to run into it. And the people that don't fight through it in some way, shape, or form, bounce off and, I don't know, go work at Starbucks or go do something else, right? They just don't do that particular thing.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No.
Go and work for someone and work in whatever field you work in. My mentality is I've been told no so many times from a young child, from being young, that it just got to me where, okay, just no means yes, but not right away. Like, it's funny because I have 2 boys and right now I tell them no all the time, like no, because, they're monkeys. I say no. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I keep telling them no. I wonder if they're going to grow up like me and then always think like, no, you know what? Maybe he means yes. I just got to do it a little bit differently. So,
well, okay. So how old are your kids?
6 and 3. And okay. I got one more 2 weeks away, one more boy.
Oh, wow. Congrats, man. That's exciting.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
That's cool. And those are good age gaps too, I think. Like that's cool.
I think so. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, mine are 7 and 9. All right. So, we started a little bit early before you, but whatever, you got another one coming so that we got a dog instead. So that's how that goes. But it's funny that you mentioned it because it's like, I have the same way where sometimes it'll be like, nah. Like the other day, my son came up to me and he was like, Dad, can I have, he had like some Halloween candy or whatever from a friend. And he's got these 2 pieces of candy and they're like burning a hole in his brain. Like he can't not think about the candy. Yeah. So he comes up to me yesterday and he's like, Dad, can I have a piece of candy? It's like at 6:30 in the morning. Right. And I'm like, no. Of
course, because it's either early or very late at night.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Just trying to make the coffee. And I'm like, no, you can't have a piece of candy. And he was like, I hear you, but he's like, I have an extra piece. I'll give it to my brother. I'll get it out of the house so you won't have to, because I was complaining about that. I eat their candy. He's like, I'll get it out of the house so you won't eat it. And then I won't have to ask you again later in the day. And I was like, yeah, it's a really good argument. Yes, you could have a piece of candy. And like my wife came downstairs. She's like, why are they eating candy? I'm like, he made a really strong argument. Like that's kind of all I care about. So tell me about All City. So the company, just to remind everybody, it's All City Adjusting, and you can get there at allcityadjusting.com. So you have this thing, you had this experience, you're calling the public adjuster guy, you finally like kind of hook up and start learning the thing. It was All City, the company that you originally were at originally. Did this formation of the company happen later? Like, what's the story with the All City?
Yeah, so the first 2 or 3 years, I was working with Herb under his license, and he was teaching me everything. My mentor, Herb, he was teaching me everything. And then 3 years into it, in 2010 or something like that, or 2000, something around that time, 2010, 2014, that time, we incorporated, and that incorporated to All City Adjusting. And then since then, it's all been like growth, right? How do we grow into the biggest, because our entire goal here is how do we grow into the biggest PA firm and help as many people as we can with the best team and don't lose that service, right? As companies grow, sometimes they lose that touch. We want to grow, but grow well enough where we can still help everyone. And, we've been able to grow and scale the business now to 31 states. We cover 31 states. We specialize in large loss, so large fires, even residential losses, large water losses. We'll take smaller losses as well for our long-term clients. But the large losses is where we can shine. We can deploy our whole team, whether it's forensic accountant, whether it's our own engineers. We have a whole team behind each claim, which is great. We have a staff. We have a CRM that updates our clients, and we're trying to scale and really encompass the whole adjusting business into one.
So, man, I have a bunch of questions about that. So, famously, my business is the internet, right? So my mom still doesn't know what I do. It just all feels very, up in the air. 31 states is a lot of states, right? And you've got to, like you said, there's people on the ground, and, we were talking about setting up offices and all this stuff. So I want to ask about the challenges of that type of business. Is that to me, it seems so spread out and so difficult, and you can't be everywhere at once. And is that a challenge, or is it the kind of thing where you're like, yeah, we just have a system, we kind of roll it out every time? What is it like being in a business that's in so many places geographically at once?
It's not an issue at all, because when you handle large loss and when you handle certain types of claims, no matter what state it is, obviously each state has different statutes and laws pertaining to insurance companies and how claims get handled.
Yeah.
So we know those statutes, but pretty much every claim gets handled the same way for us. From start to finish, it's pretty much the same way. So we can deploy our team wherever. Financially, it doesn't matter what state we go into, because once we go into a size of a claim and up, we know that financially makes sense for us, and it's going to make financially, it always makes financially sense for our client, because we're going to bring value to that client all the time. So no, and in the beginning, we were trying to stay local, but then again, as our clients grew, and majority of our clients have become, like I mentioned, investors and landlords, and as they grew their portfolio, for example, one of our clients, it's like, hey, we have a loss here. We had a fire in this state. Oh, shoot. Well, we're not licensed in that state. Okay, well, let's think about growing to that state. So we kind of grew with our clients. So as our clients grew, we grew with them. And that's kind of how we're been able to. And then it didn't happen overnight. It's happened in the last 10 years that we've grown into those many states.
I mean, it's super impressive, man. I mean, I was just thinking, like the website you have on the website says local presence, national reach, which is like really cool.
That was always our thing, that we are local and we have a local reach. Like if I meet you in California or I go handle a claim in Pennsylvania, it's the same attitude. It's the same mantra that we have wherever we go. And it doesn't matter if we drive 30 minutes to a loss or if we fly 3 hours to a loss. It's the same claim handling, same everything.
You have really good travel points? Like you have like sick travel points?
We do have a lot of good travel points. Yeah, we have a good deal on rental cars. No shortage of rental cars for us. Right. So we're good.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed part 1 of this episode. It's just too good to limit to one show. Join us next week to hear the rest.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.